Hey guys, April here from the Gumboot Garden. Today I wanted to chat with you about when you should be planting out your spring and summer garden, because I know a lot of times we get so excited because a nice sunny warm day comes and we all are like, let's go plant our garden. It's hot, it's sunny, spring is here. But that is often not the best time for us to actually go out and plant things into the ground, because there usually are a few more frosts that come after that, possibly even a snowstorm. And our nighttime temperatures definitely are not as warm as the temperatures we're feeling on that day. But where exactly should we be looking to find out where or when to plant out our plants? When I was first starting out, I actually used the garden center as my main guide of when I should be planting things out into the garden, which is a terrible idea. They get their seedlings in so early in the season, and it's really misleading to a lot of new gardeners. So I had actually been going in and looking at all the different varieties quite often and had bought most of my seedlings, but I did notice a couple things that were going on. So in one of the 5 garden centers I went to, they did actually post a sign that said, it's too early for your tomatoes and your peppers to be planted outside without cover. And then I also noticed in late October, they had gotten a massive shipment of seedlings in one weekend when I was going in and getting the last of the seedlings I needed. And there were heaps of people walking around with full carts of plants. And I was like, okay, something is going on this weekend. And that's how I found out when the best time to plant out my garden was. But that's definitely not how you should be going about deciding when to plant out your garden. There are better ways of doing this. So we need to be looking at our first and last frost dates. And you can usually Google this and get a pretty quick answer. I think either almanac.com or farmersalmanac.com comes up as the first result if you're looking for average first and last frost dates for the US. But no matter where you are located, if you have frost dates, then it should be a pretty quick Google search. These frost dates do vary greatly depending on where you're located and what your climate is like. So it is really important that you are going by these dates rather than any planting dates or monthly planting guides that you might find on the internet that are telling you when you should be planting things. Knowing these average first and last frost dates for your area is usually a pretty safe bet of when to plant out your seedlings. And I say safe in quotations because it's not guaranteed that that date is going to be the very last frost you're going to have of the season. Sometimes it comes earlier, sometimes it comes later. The weather is quite unpredictable. The average last frost dates that you'll find when you look these up, they are taking the last frost dates and the first frost dates of each year for the past 10 years or so and taking an average of them, so that it gives you a pretty good idea that you should have your seedlings ready to be going out into the garden around your last frost date. And also for your first frost date, that's about the time that you should be wrapping things up in the garden because the frost is going to start to kill things off. If your area doesn't frost though, much like mine doesn't, it might be a little bit trickier to do that Google search. But whether your area frosts or doesn't frost, we all just need to become a little bit more attuned to the weather. So that boring, how's the weather conversation filler that everyone always complains about actually takes on a whole new meaning as a gardener, because we actually need to be attuned to the weather to know how our gardens are and will grow throughout the season. So it's not just something that we need to be aware of at the start of the season when we're trying to get our plants, our seedlings out, but throughout the whole season to kind of be a little bit of a predictor to see how things are going to grow. But sticking with the planting aspect of our garden, we typically don't want to plant our warmer season seedlings like our tomatoes, peppers, squash, cucumbers, things like that out into the garden until our nighttime temperatures are consistently reaching 50 degrees Fahrenheit or warmer, because otherwise we'll stunt the growth of our plants. And that means that we might be putting a healthy seedling into the garden, but it's not necessarily going to grow into a healthy adult plant or give us the best harvest that we could possibly have. Because those warmer season crops really thrive in the warmer weather when temperatures start to reach like 65 to 70 degrees Fahrenheit or warmer. However, there are a few hardier crops like your beets, your carrot, broccoli, Brussels sprouts, and a handful of others that you can plant earlier in the season. They actually prefer those cooler springtime temperatures and have trouble growing once the hot summer temperatures have been reached. So we can often plant these early in the season and have them ready to be harvested when our warm season crops are ready to go into the ground and be transplanted in. And then the same is true at the end of the season. So as our summer harvest is coming to an end, we can pull those crops out and have those hardier crops ready to be transplanted in, so we can have a nice fall harvest of veggies, because again, they don't mind a light frost, and a lot of them actually taste a little bit better once they have been hit by a frost. So to recap, when you first start to get that itch to get your seedlings into the ground, start with your hardier crops, and then wait for the bulk of your summer crops to go into the ground until after your average last frost date, or when the temperatures are warm enough for your plants to thrive. And then at the end of the season, if you're not ready to quit yet, then you can have your hardier crops ready to go into the ground again once the bulk of your summer harvest has come in. And that's it for today, guys. I will catch you in the next video tomorrow. See ya.